Sideline Squib. It's a long time coming. Steve, Andrew, what say you? This is the sideline, huh? Funny, it's my time then. Put me in right now then. Squib, boy. This is the sideline, huh? Funny, it's my time then. Yeah, put me in right now then. Squib, boy. This is the Squib, info stick up to your ribs. Chips be coming with that dip. Go ahead, put it to your lips. My oh my, that is delish. Victory gon' taste like this. Y'all bought that big old boat, but these boys built you a bridge. Sit down and take notes. If you want you a trophy.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Sideline Squib. I'm your host, Steve Silvestri, back with co-host Andrew Lehigh, and we're here with our second year of Picks and Bricks episode, getting you ready for your Sunday matchups. So, Andrew, let's bring them on in. How are you doing out there tonight?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Couldn't be. It's like Christmas Eve, man. Super excited. Get this thing rolling, and we are actually just a few hours away, like roughly, like what is that, 14 hours or so away from real football on a Sunday. Just cranking up the NFL Red Zone and enjoying ourselves on a nice Sunday afternoon with football. Sounds nice to me.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. I know even even Thursday night, it didn't really feel real yet. I mean, obviously it might have felt a little bit different for you being
a little
Kansas
different
City Chiefs fan, and you get to watch your awesome rookie came out, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, looking like a young Saquon Barkley.
Just like I called it.
I mean, man, how was that feeling? I'm ready for tomorrow. I can't wait for tomorrow. Like, I have my whole setup ready, the food that I want to make ready. How was it actually having your home team and your fan team, play like already? Like, the season started. It's here.
Yeah. My buddy Justin and I talked about this, I think, last year because he's a 49ers fan, and both of us were seemingly on primetime like every other week. One of our teams were, and we joked around like it's kind of actually nice to have that done and out of the way. Like, Sunday's much more enjoyable when your team's already handled business on Thursday. Conversely, when they play Monday night or Sunday night, it's the worst because all night, all day, you're kind of like just thinking, all right, well, hopefully we don't mess this up. Hopefully we don't play like that, certain situations. So it's nice. It's nice to have it over with and done and rip the Band-Aid off of getting the jitterbugs done. And yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire looked really, really, really good. Really impressed with just how quickly they got him involved scheme-wise and stuff, and just moving him around, moving chess pieces around. Andy Reid with a fogged-up mask is still a hell of a play caller. So it's exciting. And I know I was just telling you in the backstage that everyone loves Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and no one will be more happy to see him succeed. I don't have very many shares of him, but in fantasy football, but I love him being on the Kansas City Chiefs. Not enough will be talked about how important Assembly was in regards to the addition on the offensive line. We lost the doctor towards with the opt out, and no harm there. Obviously he has a doctor's degree. He's a medical doctor, so it makes sense for him to go and use his talents elsewhere. But getting Assembly was just a massive upgrade in the running game department. So really, really excited to see what the Chiefs' run game looks like, going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Kelsey Assembly is one of those guys. He's just massive up front. I don't know for the Chiefs, does he still play the left side?
I believe so. Yeah, they were moving. They were talking about moving him around, but yeah, I think he's lining up on left guard right now. It's weird. Like, it's funny because you caught me right there. Because I'm like, I don't really know if he was on the regular left. I know he's playing guard, but when you're watching the Chiefs or like watching your team, it's very difficult to like what's going on, but like you're just so involved in the game that I watch the game differently when I'm watching the Chiefs than when I would watch anyone else. So it's much more of a fandom thing where I'm just like, yes, or I'm like super concerned about who's catching the football. I'm like, okay, Travis Kelce, 2 more catches, or
no, I can't wait. I can't wait for tomorrow. Like it's tough enough that it's different, being in this new position and everything. I start work very, very early in the morning, so I slept. The second half, I slept right through it on Thursday. So it was football, and I was excited, but I'm excited to just have all the TV set up and just click back and forth, watch all the touchdowns.
I'm really excited about your game from a fantasy standpoint. I love the the Las Vegas Carolina game. That is a tasty matchup when it comes to fantasy football.
Yeah. Yeah, well, before we jump on in with our Picks and Bricks episode, the first one to start off this 2020 season,
Yeah.
I want to shout out Dynasty Owner, dynastyowner.com. The season's up and running now, but they still have plenty of things on their YouTube channel, plenty of videos and articles and kind of voice chats to kind of give you their basis of what the game is of Dynasty Owner. Not to mention they have a $10,000 diamond encrusted ring that they give out to the winner at the end. So it's absolutely insane. Check them out. Go to www.dynastyowner.com/squib. And at least give them a look, give us a look. Let them know that we sent you there. It's something completely different. I mean, think about it. Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Cooper Kupp, all those guys just signed contracts this weekend or yesterday, the day before. That changes your whole roster on Dynasty Owner. Changes it completely. So, but yeah, let's jump into that real quick. Alvin Kamara, 5 years, $75 million, new money. You got Dalvin Cook, 5 years, $63 million. And Cooper Kupp, 3 year, $48 million. You know which one eats me the most. What about you? What do you think about those contracts?
Yeah, really, 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 really surprised by the Dalvin Cook. Both the number and that they did it prior to the season starting. I know it's just a day before or whatnot, but I really thought they'd want to see a little bit more of live action of Dalvin Cook to make sure those shoulders are going to hold up. We had the fantasy football doctor. We had him on here, and he talked about how the likelihood of him separating one or if not both of those shoulders again is extremely high. He falls into both buckets of players that have done so in regards to both his left and his right. He's had surgery on one, he's had surgery on the other. So I'm very surprised that they went that route considering the running back room. I know you're a little fair of Alexander Madison. Mike Boone is there. I feel like they could pretty much plug anyone into that system and have some sort of success from a running back standpoint. Maybe not Dalvin Cook's success, but so I'm genuinely surprised by that number and that they locked him up already. Alvin Kamara makes sense. The Saints are a completely different team without that guy. That's going to be this is a very small window for them in regards to trying to make a push with Drew Brees, get him up over the hump. So makes sense to lock him up and keep him happy. And then Cooper Kupp, I don't know where the Rams come up with this money. I mean, the same thing with the Chiefs. The Chiefs did it too. The Chiefs we signed everyone. We're like, how? We had $27 at the start of offseason. How did we have money? And I guess they moved money around too. I mean, to sign Cooper Kupp and Jalen Ramsey is a pretty big deal for the Rams for sure.
Yeah, I like it. I think Alvin Kamara is a no-brainer. Good for Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, good for him. I don't want that to come across as I'm upset that they did it. I'm just genuinely surprised. I didn't think they would.
The running back room. I mean, everyone out there knows my, affiliation with Alexander Madison. And now he's just a very expensive handcuff. He's a very talented handcuff on a team that likes to run the football. So maybe he gets his chances, but not when you're paying Dalvin Cook that kind of money. So
you're running to the ground, right?
He almost needs to find a trade partner, or I don't know. Otherwise, he's going to be wasted talent there behind Dalvin Cook in Minnesota there for a while. So, well, what do you think? You want to jump right into our picks and bricks for week 1 of the 2020 season?
Amen to that, man. It's exciting to even say that. Hey, guys, this is who to start, who to sit. This is our picks and bricks for week 1, second annual. We're full circle now, a whole calendar year. It's pretty remarkable stuff, man. This is good stuff. So let's get into it.
All right. Well, for the first annual of 2020, not annual, first pick. I don't know where we're going with this. For the first quarterback on our picks and bricks list, Andrew, who do you have at the quarterback position for a pick in week 1?
Yeah, so I'm, like I mentioned before, I'm super excited about the Carolina Las Vegas game from a fantasy standpoint. So for me, I'm locking in DJ Moore. I'm not going to waste anyone's time here in regards to telling you to start DJ Moore. Everyone should be starting DJ Moore already. But having said that, I think it makes logical sense to also start Teddy Bridgewater. If there's going to be a game in a positive situation, positive game script for the Panthers, it could be against the Raiders. But I think it's going to be a very high-scoring, back-and-forth affair. I don't think there's going to be much stopping of either team. So for me, I think Teddy Bridgewater, he's paired up with 2 outstanding wide receivers that are perfect for his skill set when it comes to yak monsters and Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore. You have obviously Robbie Anderson over the top and a whole new play caller and Carolina in general. And then, oh, by the way, he can toss it off to CMC out of the backfield and get himself some easy additional yards as well. So for me, Teddy Bridgewater takes care of the football, is a very accurate passer, and you should be able to pick apart the Raiders defense pretty easily. They are going up against the fifth worst defense versus quarterbacks in 2019. So,
yep, and they are still very young. I think they have the talent needed and the playmakers to become a middle of the pack defense, but they don't have that lockdown position really anymore. And they still struggle at linebacker, even though they made a few acquisitions this offseason. But yeah, I like it. You know, if anyone saw my DFS DraftKings video that's posted on a website over at sidelinesquib.com or at the YouTube channel, you know that I'm a big fan of DJ Moore in week 1 as well. So it just makes sense for Teddy Bridgewater he's got to have someone throwing the ball. And I love it. So my pick for quarterback is going to be Cam Newton. I kind of went a different way here. I think he's at home, in quotes, at home, barring the fans and the new stadium for him, but he is playing at home against a bad Miami team. He has a lot to prove. No one kind of picked him up in the offseason. He kind of lingered out there, and then finally Bill Belichick called him up and brought him up to New England. So Miami still has a lot to work on as well. The defense isn't really that much more improved. So I like Cam Newton in a good spot here to bounce back and kind of show the league, like, yeah, I'm healthy. I'm ready to be the number 1 quarterback again. He has his moxie. I'm sure he'll show up in some sort of peacock feathered flamingo hat, and he'll come out and he'll do his thing. So who don't you like this week at the quarterback position? Who is someone you would drop to your bench if you need be?
Myself off mute for a second. Look at me. I'm back here. I'm trying to be considerate, do the mute thing. I got dogs in the background, and then I can't even click the unmute button. Look at me go. No, for real. I think Cam Newton is a great choice in regards to pick. I think if you're not going to start him versus the Dolphins, then when are you going to start him? No, I think the match made in perfect heaven here with Belichick. So we'll see what happens. I think it's definitely worth the gamble if you have Cam Newton to go ahead and fire him up, especially in Superflex, obviously. For me, I'm sitting Daniel Jones this week. I don't really have him anywhere, particularly in Dynasty. I have him in a very few leagues, but if in those leagues, I'm not willing to start him this week. He is going up against Pittsburgh, who was number 7 versus quarterbacks fantasy points. So last year in 2019, they didn't get any worse on defense in Pittsburgh. If anything, they got better. They got, and that's a very scary defense, and just in general with the Watt brother. So I'm fading Daniel Jones. I think there'll be a heavy dose of Barkley, but I just can't see Daniel Jones taking care of the football well enough in Pittsburgh to bring back enough value for me.
Yeah, that's Pittsburgh. Who knows? Who knows? They've always been known for their defense. Minkah Fitzpatrick, after coming over from Miami, has just been amazing. He scored 2 defensive touchdowns in the first 3 weeks he was there, something like that. So Daniel Jones is another one. He's one of those guys that can come out and throw 5 touchdowns or 4 interceptions and just get absolutely demolished. And that's kind of the same way I'm leaning with my quarterback as well. I'm going to stay in the same stadium, same state. Let me take that back. Not the same state. I'm going to go with Sam Darnold. I'm a little off today, guys. A little off. Sam Darnold is going to be my brick. He still has an Adam Gase as head coach. Don't love it. And he has a tough matchup against the Buffalo Bills, which I also don't love. There's a lot of things to like about Sam Darnold, but until he gets out of his own head, until Adam Gase can unlock or unleash his actual potential that he showed coming out of college, it's just not there. Not to mention, who's he going to throw the ball to? Who is he going to throw the ball to in New York? Jamison Crowder, sure. He has the potential to become a big PPR monster, but if he doesn't get into the end zone, Sam Darnold's not scoring points. So I am fading Sam Darnold this week. If I have him in any leagues, he is not cracking my starting roster. Agreed.
It's a tough matchup. I have a different start this week from the Jets, but I completely am with you on sitting Sam Darnold just in regards to what we expect from their implied totals, and just the matchup is really, really poor. So we'll see what we get. I mean, Adam Gase, man, how he has a job, so kudos to him, but I can't imagine it lasting through this season. So very, very low expectations with the Jets, especially from a win total as well as a fantasy production standpoint. But easy fade for me. Too many quarterbacks to start. Too many quarterbacks are viable. No need risking Sam Darnold out there versus a really, really tough matchup. So I'm with you. Who do you have as a pick for your running back? Who are you starting this week?
All right, so I'm going to go. This is someone that up until this year probably could be slotted into your RB2, maybe even your flex spot. But Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram's a sneaky play here. To me, coming into the season right now, there's huge upside because of the rookie fever. Everyone loves J.K. Dobbins, myself included, and they're like, man, he's going to get – he's not. He's just not. He's not going to come in week one and steal the thunder from a guy who has just dominated the run game in his career and has never really been the absolute number one. If anything, this helps Mark Ingram. This spells him as he gets older in age, a couple downs, takes a couple less hits, and can still grind and be that big back that he has. The Cleveland Browns still has a bad defense. They have the high-profile names, but for some reason they just haven't been able to put it together. And there's going to be a lot of points. There's going to be a ton of points scored, and anytime you have Lamar Jackson under center, there's going to be a ton of points scored. So if I think they're -8, they're 8-point favorites right now in Baltimore. So as the lead begins to spread, more and more clock, they're just going to kill the clock and kill the clock and kill the clock. And that's where Mark Ingram just eats, 4 or 5 yards at a time. And that just adds up in the fantasy world.
No, see, I like that a lot. Implied total is like 28.75. Team total from Vegas, 8-point favorites. I mean, those are, you give me a little peek behind the curtain on like how we would decide who we're starting, who we're sitting on our own teams. Is you kind of look at those kind of things from a macro level and say, okay, if I'm looking at a situation where I'm teetering between one player versus another, I want to look and see what does Vegas think in regards to how the game is going to play out. Vegas is a lot smarter than I am in predicting the outcome of games. So at least I kind of use that as a guide as a tiebreaker. And an 8-point favorite is a big favorite in the NFL, and as especially when you're talking about two teams who should be pretty good. I mean, obviously the Ravens are favorites, but I think the Browns will surprise some people in regards to how sour they made people last year, not living up to expectations. But from the defensive standpoint, completely agree. I think a 28, almost 29-point team implied total is too good to pass up on Mark Ingram, who should be icing the game away in the fourth quarter. So I'm with you there. Yeah. Tooth is saltine in here. The Browns may have a weak D, but they have a very stout run defense. Until they play Lamar Jackson, and you know that as well as anyone judging by your profile pick.
Yeah.
Toothless, I know you're a Ravens fan, so I know you're trying to temper expectations, but they're going to run the ball really, really well, just like they have for going on now 2 years. So I would expect more of the same when it comes to the Ravens run game.
Yeah, I agree. And kind of going into it as much, I'm not quite sure where those numbers are coming from, because against running backs, the Cleveland Browns, they rank 30th out of 32 teams against the run. And DVOA against running backs is 26. So they're in the bottom half of the run defense. Like I said, they have the names to be good, but they just haven't produced under that defensive coordinator yet. So
yeah. Yep. And he's right. I mean, there's going to be a spell factor from, J.K. Dobbins, but I couldn't be a bigger fan of J.K. Dobbins, what I expect from him in a dynasty standpoint. But in week one, I think Michelle touched on it. There's been very, very, very few positive week one games from rookie running backs. CEH is going to be a very high outlier when it comes to when we look back at the end of week one. Jonathan Taylor is the only other one I'd be interested in, and that's just because I believe that once he gets the ball, it's going to be over. And for Marlon Mack, but he's got to get it first, and maybe Marlon Mack starts the game out for Indianapolis, and it ends up, Jonathan Taylor doesn't see enough of the field, so it doesn't work out for him in week one. But both of them, J.K. Dobbins and Jonathan Taylor, long-term and even immediate term, they're going to be very, very important factors in fantasy football. But as for week 1, when you're starting and sitting, I think Mark Ingram is a very nice play given the implied total, the game matchup, and like you just touched on, a very poor run defense actually in regards to DVOA and rankings across the league. For me, I am for my pick. It almost pains me to say this because I have him in only one real league, and that is the Scott Fish Bowl. But old Todd Gurley versus the Seattle Seahawks, who ranked 21st versus running backs last year in fantasy points, and an implied total of 23.75. There should be plenty of scoring from the Atlanta Falcons, and I expect that to continue. Todd Gurley scored, I think at this point, like 16 or 17 touchdowns over the last 2 years. So has a nose for the end zone, and I think that's going to continue for him. So easy pick for me is Todd Gurley, and I don't know if Steve is still here. And if he's not, he's not. Awesome. I'm going to take this over right now, and we'll hope that he comes back. Anyways, so Steve is dealing with his technical difficulties, as everyone is accustomed to at this point. I kid. But for me, we really wanted to kind of get over some of the picks and bricks for each position, but I'm going to go ahead and take over and take my brick at this point. And he's coming back. I'll go ahead and jump into my brick for running backs. Running back that I am sitting. Hold on here. Sorry there, Steve. I'll bring you back in here.
What up?
What's up? Steve's twin, Steve Silvestri. Again, what's up, buddy? I'm glad I had a good connection.
Well, we're working off the phone here. So I missed you on your pick, so I'm hoping it was a good one.
Yeah, I went with Todd Gurley. We talked backstage in regards to where I feel about Todd Gurley, but he had he found the end zone in the last 2 years. He leads all running backs and rushing touchdowns. And I think Seattle is a really, really fantastic matchup. They ranked 21st with some running back in fantasy scoring, and then implied total of 23.75 makes it I find it pretty easy for him to find the end zone once, if not twice, and could really keep your lineup afloat.
Yeah, no, I really like the Todd Gurley one because he's another one. Atlanta scores a ton of points. They're going up against a Seattle defense who, was known to be very good in the past, and they're getting older. That Seattle defense, that 12th man, they're not going to have that 12th man. I like Todd Gurley's situation in Atlanta. The amount of points they're going to put up, it's going to be a very tricky year, I think, for Todd Gurley he needs to stay healthy. That's going to be his thing. But in week 1, I think it's a lock. I love it. I think it's an absolute lock for Todd Gurley in week 1.
Yeah, I don't really want to touch him much in Dynasty. I don't think anywhere on a Dynasty roster I have him in our Scott Fish Bowl, but that is it, I think, as far as ownership or rostership of Todd Gurley. But that doesn't mean I'm going to pass on the plus opportunity here against Seattle. Who do you got?
So as a brick, I have good old Aaron Jones. And some people might find this interesting because obviously the season he had last year was outstanding. He's on a contract year this year. He's going to be out improving. He just saw 2 of his fellow running backs bring in 5-year deals that we touched on in the beginning. But I just don't like his matchup. They're playing against Minnesota, an in-division game. Aaron Rodgers is, he's coming down the wrong side of the hill, I think. And I just don't think Aaron Jones has got to fall onto. Minnesota played very well in defense last year, ranking 7th overall, 8th against the rush, 7th against the pass. So they're tight. It's a tight defense. It's a division game. Started off with a bang. Week 1, Green Bay versus Minnesota. I'm not liking it. I don't like Aaron Jones's situation. Plus, you got to remember, you got someone in the backfield behind Aaron Jones who is battling with Saquon for the biggest quads out there. So, he's going to get his touches, whether they're – and we haven't even touched on Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams. They love Jamal Williams there, man. And he loves SpongeBob. So those 2 things can't go wrong when you're talking about a fantasy football lineup.
Yep. Yeah. I it's gonna be, it's gonna be one of those ones where it's gonna be tough. They're projected, the implied total for them is only 21 points. That's 3 total touchdowns.
Yeah, it's a good point.
You're telling me Aaron Rodgers is gonna throw. If he throws 2 touchdowns, you better hope that last one is yours.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm staying away from Aaron Jones. It's going to be a tough one for those Aaron Jones owners out there, but slide him to your bench.
I think they're going to really run into a running back by committee, which really sucks for everyone. When it comes to if you're AJ Dillon truther, if you're an Aaron Jones truther, if you find yourself on the fence for both. Like, I don't think the picture is going to be that clear after week 1. I think it's going to be they're just going to trot out whoever's rotation it is and see where they're at. It's a very tough offense to kind of understand from a running back standpoint, but Aaron Jones is the only constant. The only thing I could say about the Aaron Jones situation is there's no one else to catch the football. Alan Lazard is going to be really his only option to throw the ball. So if it's Aaron Jones, he does really I could see where Aaron Jones becomes a threat in the red zone, even out of the backfield as a pass catcher. So that could be something where you're talking Aaron Rodgers still gets some touchdowns, but so does Aaron Jones in regards to receiving him. So I don't know if I could bench Aaron Jones just knowing where I spent my draft capital on him, because we drafted so early. We didn't think they were going to draft another damn running back, but they went ahead and took AJ Dillon, and they took a quarterback as well. So it's really tough to gauge what their real long-term plan is. But for week 1, I can understand benching him, but for me, it's tough for me to do. So I applaud you for your boldness as usual, but I don't know if I can get on board completely with benching him everywhere. But
well, yeah. Well, before we jump into your brick, why don't we remind everyone a little bit how we judge our picks and bricks? Maybe we should have started off with that earlier for all the new listeners out there and anyone who's just jumping on board with us this season. Andrew, give them a little bit about what we consider a pick, what we consider a brick, and how for the following week.
Right. So for me, I don't necessarily mean for picks and bricks. Like, I'm not going to tell you to start like Lamar Jackson, and like that just doesn't make sense. That doesn't give anyone any value. For me, I always want to take a look at like what I actually expect from that player, and for them, I want them to finish in the top 12 of their position. If I'm going to pick them, that's my projection, is that they're going to finish in the top 12 of their position for that week. And that's where I'm at with Teddy Bridgewater. That's where I'm at with Todd Gurley. And then conversely, I feel like if I'm going to choose the other player as a brick or tell you to bench them, I mean that they're not going to fulfill the expectation of at least bringing back a top 12 finish. And then a lot of times I'm telling you that they're likely not going to finish in the top 20 at their position, especially when it comes to quarterbacks, because the difference between 12th and 15th isn't that big of a deal at quarterback. When I'm telling you, hey, probably shouldn't play Daniel Jones, it's because I don't feel like based on what I'm looking at, I don't feel like he's going to even finish in the top 20 of his position. So I'm projecting him to finish in the bottom third. Running back is a little different. If they're not finishing in the top 12, the staggering difference from top 5, 10 or so of running backs compared to 20th finishes is a significant difference. So I'm telling you, if I want them to if I'm projecting them to be a brick, then I'm projecting them to not finish in the top 12. Basically, a position 1, a running back 1, a quarterback 1, or wide receiver 1. So for that week particularly, at least that's how I look at it.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm glad we got that out. So for all you new listeners out there and anyone who's jumping on the board for the picks and bricks for us this season, now you know a little bit about why we're picking these players and who we go for. It's not always going to be the chalkiest guys out there. It makes no sense for us to tell you, like you said, that to play Lamar Jackson. If you don't play Lamar Jackson, you're dumb. It doesn't even matter if he has it doesn't matter if he has the hardest matchup out there. You're playing him.
Yeah, matchup proof, really.
And as you listen and as we go, you will hear us. I mean, what was it last year? There was I think I had back-to-back weeks where I told everyone to sit Kamara and Joe Mixon or something along those lines, or CMC and Joe Mixon, and it worked out. But then there's obviously those that don't. So this is going to be one where we're going to try to better our expectations on a player or lower the standards of players that are getting hyped up too much for this week.
Completely agree. Like a great example for my brick is Antonio Gibson. Speaking of hype and what everyone likes to think is going to happen with Washington's backfield is, to put it bluntly, no one knows. No one expected Adrian Peterson to get cut. Adrian Peterson ends up getting cut, so it boosted everyone up, and everyone thinks that it's going to be Antonio Gibson's show, which I do think he's going to be very, very involved. I just wanted people to limit their expectations. And if you have Antonio Gibson, I wouldn't go trotting him out and playing him in every single lineup. I would say sure, in certain situations, deep rosters, deep benches, deep starting situations, I could see trotting out Antonio Gibson. He certainly has the upside of really producing a high ceiling, because we don't know how much he's going to be used. If he's used, almost exclusively out of the backfield, then he could change the whole landscape of the week and your matchup. If he's used sparingly or not involved, or Washington struggles to move the football, then it's going to be for naught, and you're going to be really left holding the bag. And so putting a lot of faith in a rookie running back is a tall task in week one, unless they're named Jonathan Taylor, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like, those are the two that have the clearest line of number one touches, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire produced, obviously, and Jonathan Taylor doesn't even have that clear of a path for week one. Marlon Mack is likely going to be the starter, and probably, it's likely going to be a 70-30 split. And you still have Nyheim Hines, who I'm not a fan of, but the Colts are, So to my point, Antonio Gibson's expectations should be lower, and that would be my brick. And not to mention, we're talking about a matchup that is not good for Washington when it comes to running the football. Philadelphia ranked number 4 versus the running back, and they have the Washington team in Washington, the team that has no name, implied total is 18.5. That is not worth rostering or starting a running back, in my opinion, regardless of what the running back room looks like. So for me, it's an easy brick.
So not to veer off this a little bit, but my parents came up to see my daughter, their granddaughter, today, and we were just talking a little bit of football, talking a little bit about football, talking a little about this, and we started talking about the Washington football team, and because how my dad, we're in the Philadelphia area, they're getting ready to watch the game and all that stuff. So my dad said, "Well, good thing they didn't mess up spelling their name, or their initials, their acronym for their team would be WTF."
It could still be. That might be what I call them, WTF.
Yeah. Oh man, sorry.
That's good. No, that's good.
Like, Dad, where do you even come up with this stuff? Good
dad joke right there.
Moment here. I'm going into a territory in week one that may have a lot of you guys stop watching. But in a sense, hopefully you guys continue to come back, and that is with my pick of week one. This is a guy that you will be able to slot into your flex that many people will not have. He may even be available on your waiver wire. Obviously, coming into week one, you love your lineup. You just got done drafting over the summer. You're solid. Kendrick Bourne
identity.
Bourne for the San Francisco 49ers is going to have a great week this week. So they are already banged up at the position. We don't know if Debo is going to be limited or if he's going to be out.
Pretty sure he's already been ruled out.
So we're keeping an eye on the rest of them. The rest of that receiving core, you have George Kittle, who's also banged up a little bit. Going to play, but banged up. All right, so you're coming into a game where Jimmy Garoppolo, has had his best career games against Arizona. Last season, Jimmy G threw for 741 yards and 8 touchdowns in 2 games against Arizona. The only thing they did differently on defense was add Isaiah Simmons. Granted, could be a game changer, but he's going to be more or less locking down George Kittle, since they ranked worse against the tight ends. And San Fran has the second highest team total on the whole slate tomorrow. So I absolutely love Kendrick Bourne in this situation, who also caught 2 touchdowns. He has caught 2 touchdowns against Arizona in each game that he played. So a single touchdown in each game they played against him last year. So I'm looking towards Kendrick Bourne. That's one to win. Drop him in your flex. All right. They got the 425 game. It's going to be there. If you're not confident in it, don't play him. But if you're losing Put it this way:
Yeah.
if you are losing come
Play him.
425, you drop him in your lineup and you propel yourself to victory. That's what I'm saying.
100% agree. That's a great strategy. It's something we needed to touch on a little bit. I actually had this question on Facebook. You never know if this could be their first year playing fantasy football or any of that kind of stuff. So there was a question on Facebook, fantasy football discussion group page, I believe, and she was like, she said, "Why is Fantasy Pros telling me to swap, this wide receiver for another wide receiver and put one in the flex and one in the wide receiver spot? Like, I don't understand. Like, don't they score the same? They play the same position. I don't understand why they would. What does it matter? Did you score more points if they're in the flex? What does it matter?" And the simplest explanation is the flex is designed to be flexible, right? So you need it's there so that you can play and most leagues so you can play running back, wide receiver, or tight end. In some leagues, it's just available for running back and wide receiver. But what that does by starting your latest starting eligible player to play in the flex allows you the flexibility to then pivot off of that if come 325 in the afternoon, there's news that player is not playing or another player that might be affecting that player is playing. And you can come off of that player and put someone else in that's in a better situation. And what you just touched on is even a better point is you have a pretty good idea at come the afternoon games of where you're looking at in that specific matchup. Does it look like I'm going to win, or does it look like I need a miracle? Well, if you might need a miracle or you need the high upside game, Kendrick Bourne is a perfect flex play because his ceiling is immense versus that defense. You just said Deebo Samuel likely not going to play. I think he's already been ruled out. Kittle obviously banged up, but he's going to.
Brandon Ayuk banged up.
And Jimmy Garoppolo just kills it. So yeah, so I'm 100% in this when it comes to putting him in the flex position. I think that's a really, really solid play. And if you're talking about DFS lineups, that is a GPP play for sure. You and I have a ton of tickets for this Millie Maker that we've acquired during the baseball and NBA seasons. We won a bunch of stuff, won a bunch of tickets just by playing smart lineups and those kind of things. So we have a ton of different little basically bullets to take down this Millie Maker. And so I'm going to be putting together some outrageous lineups, and some of them are going to have some Kendrick Bourne in it because the upside is immense. Got a couple questions before we jump in here, Steve. On to the next picker brick. Tyler Martin wants to know PPR flex pick 2: Deshaun Jackson, Darren Waller, Tariq Cohen, Devin Singletary, or Boston Scott. So you're picking 2.
I'm picking 2 there. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like Boston Scott might be the obvious choice, but I think I'm going to fade that one here. I think I'm going to go Darren Waller. And again, I can't see the chat from my phone since, my good old technology and whatnot.
It's okay.
Computer.
I put it up on the screen.
I like Darren Waller there just because it is that NFC South matchup that we've been preaching all offseason. You want to attack the NFC South. There's not really any good defenses outside maybe the Saints and Tampa Bay's rush defense. So I like Darren Waller there in a high-scoring game. 48-point, I believe it was 48-point total with the Raiders having a 3-point favorites. So there's going to be a lot of scoring there. And Waller's he's that veteran presence now that Tyrell Williams is out. So you got Brian Edwards, you got Henry Ruggs, you're going to have Hunter Renfrow doing his school teacher stuff. So Darren Waller.
Selling somebody a car.
Darren Waller could be in for 13 targets tomorrow. And then for me, it's down to PPR flex. Let's go. Probably go Tariq Cohen here. They're playing against that Detroit. It's tough. It's tough because Boston Scott showed out when he showed in.
Yeah,
he was there. Yeah. Now with Miles Sanders not traveling to Washington, but I'm going to go Tariq Cohen. I think his PPR upside over Djax, who is he's a boomer bust. Singletary,
How much do you believe in Zach Moss there? That's the question.
Yeah, it hasn't shown it to me yet. So yeah, I think I'm going to go Waller and Tariq Cohen. I think Tariq Cohen's going to have David Montgomery is going to be limited. So there's going to be more opportunities for Cohen, plus the extra PPR that you're going to get out of him, out of the backfield against a Detroit defense. That's also, they lost Darius Slay. Their third overall pick Jeffrey Okudah is I think he's still banged up, so it's going to open up a lot. And so I'm going to go Waller and Cohen for Tyler there.
Yeah, I would go. As much as I want to say Boston Scott, I do believe Boston Scott is certainly in play here. It's tough for me to trust the offensive line when Miles Sanders isn't going to be the one carrying the football. It's going to be Boston Scott. I think it's going to be those injuries and a sneaky good defense, a defensive line in Washington. Boston Scott might be a tough play, but at the same token, who else is going to catch the football there? I mean, Deshaun Jackson potentially, and then you have the two tight ends. But Jalen Reagor has been banged up. Looks like he's going to play, but we'll see how involved he is. Boston Scott might be toting the ball quite a bit. Let's give a clear answer. I'll give a clear answer. I'll go with you. I'll say Darren Waller and Tariq Cohen are the two players I would pick here as well in the PPR flex. One more question.
That works out for you, buddy.
Yeah, and one other question from TS has full PPR flex James White or Le'Veon Bell, which is a perfect question for me because I love Le'Veon Bell this week. Like, love him. Like, Michael P. Ryan is not playing. We've discussed already the limited pass catchers for the Jets, but they're going to be really, really struggling to pass the ball quite a bit outside of the known commodities of Le'Veon Bell and Jamison Crowder. I like Chris Herndon this week, and I like Le'Veon Bell. I think it's going to be a very small funnel of pass catchers in New York. So for me, my full PPR flex choice here would be Le'Veon Bell as opposed to James White. How about you?
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think I'm with you on Le'Veon Bell. I think there's just so much running back issues in New England. You're going to have Cam Newton, who essentially could be the fifth running back there, especially around the goal line to vulture some touchdowns. Damian Harris is shown to have a decent camp. Sony Michel is going to be limited back in. You still got Rex Burkhead and James White, although he's the catching back. I don't ever trust New England's running back.
Yeah, it's tough to play the running back. You need a touchdown from James White.
Yeah, you need a touchdown from James White, or you need roughly seven catches, something like that. Which against a Miami team, I don't see them trailing enough to have James White play to his full potential of how he needs to be to win to rack up points.
Completely agree. It's a Sony Michel game, unfortunately, which doesn't mean he's going to score a lot of points. It just means that James White's not going to be on the field that much, in my opinion. I mean, maybe early on, but I think the game gets out of hand and it's maybe a 2-score game late in the game, and it's not going to be really throw to James White out in the flat type of situation for me. And Le'Veon Bell, there's just no one else. No one else is going to carry the football. Like, I understand the whole Frank Gore situation, but like there's really no, like, Le'Veon Bell is going to be the bell cow there, and he's going to continue to tote the rock. I think he's going to be the one who falls into the end zone. So for me, Le'Veon Bell over James White. Where are we at here on picks and bricks? I went with my brick at running back. Did you already say you're a brick at running back?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And then you said Kendrick Bourne at wide receiver. Robert Woods will be my pick. I'll make this short and sweet. Robert Woods implied total 26.5. I think most people would play Robert Woods, but if you're in that situation where you're kind of deep at wide receiver, I think this is a great week to play Robert Woods. I understand Cooper Kupp just got paid, but Robert Woods is going up against the 5th worst defense versus wide receivers last year, and it's going to be a high-scoring game. I want to get as much action of that game as I can in the Dallas and the Rams. So for me, an easy peasy pick for me is Robert Woods.
Yeah, I like Robert Woods. It's tough, Again, who else is there? I love Cooper Kupp. I don't like any of the tight ends in that situation. Funny, because I just locked in another bet, another Twitter bet. So hopefully it all goes through. He seems like a good guy. We've been in contact with him a lot, but I got a fifth. Let's see. I have. Now I'm drawing a blank. That's how much I don't like the guy. Tyler Higbee is going to end up worse than the tight end 15 this season.
Oh, aim to that, dude. You know where I have him ranked. Nope. He won't be a top. Yeah. Missed me with the Tyler Higbee,
So-
which really probably means Higbee has like a top like 3 finish now. Like I said that so many times out loud that I'm so against Tyler Higbee and his breakout situation. So use that at your will, America and the world. So for me, like if I'm wrong, I've said this many times. If I'm wrong about Tyler Higbee, I'm wrong about Tyler Higbee. Like sorry, like, but there's not enough there for me to. You're just not going to convince me. It could be take log, you can frame it however you want to frame it. Like, not believe in a 5-game sample size where half the field wasn't there and he was up against the worst defenses against his position. Just not going to happen. All right, so who's your brick at wide receiver?
So I'm staying away. It's another one in that New England game. I'm staying away from Devontae Parker. He finally had his, I don't know, his Van Wilder 7th-year breakout.
Yeah, you don't believe in the 6th-year breakout?
Yeah, but no, I don't. It's not that I don't think he can have a bad season. But I don't think he's number one on his team. First off, and then you're dealing with Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is having personal issues, which I think he's going to overcome that. I don't think he's the type of person to kind of linger and hold things in. But then you also have Tua battling as well. So where are we going to be? Where are we going to be for Devontae Parker season-wise? And then as for this, there's no way, because Miami still sees him as the number one. So when he's the number one in Miami, that means you got to go up against Stephon Gilmore. And
that's it.
Walked into the office and came out with an extra $5 million. Nothing. He walked in and DeAndre Hopkins can do this. Yeah, let me get an extra $5 million this season, please. Let me mark that down.
Yeah.
So I'm out on Devontae Parker in week 1. Not in New England. No, I'm out.
I'm glad you touched on that because we haven't mentioned that so far in this episode, and we'll talk more obviously as the season goes. It's not just about what the team does versus the position; it's also about the actual matchup. You got to think about it from Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's a pretty smart guy. I think most people would agree. And if you were preparing, all year, and you say, okay, we're playing against the Patriots. We understand there's no Tom Brady, but that defense is still really good. You have Bill Belichick still holding down the fort there. If you were to line up and you're taking the snap and you say, okay, am I going to target Stephon Gilmore or this other guy? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to go after Stephon Gilmore when there's a plus matchup elsewhere. So Gesicki and Preston Williams seem to be the play and an easy fade for Devontae Parker. And I completely agree. He wasn't breaking out last year until Preston Williams went down. So it's tough for me to believe that he's going to break out while Preston Williams is on the football field. So same situation. They've gotten better at running back with Jordan Howard, but which only lowers the ceiling of Devontae Parker. So I'm with you there. You're not going to like this brick. I already told you who it is, but you're not going to like it. I'm going against Amari Cooper. I know I said I want as many pass catchers and as many pieces of this game as possible with the Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Rams, but Amari Cooper does not play well against number one corners, and he's got a tough one to draw on the first week of the year. So for me, I think they'll be gearing up a lot of plays to utilize their newest weapon in CeeDee Lamb. I think he's going to feast as a wide receiver. I think he's going to just splash right onto the NFL landscape. I think if you don't already know who CeeDee Lamb is, by the end of Sunday, everyone in America will know who CeeDee Lamb is and why he has been crowned the new golden child wearing a star on his helmet. So I think they'll force feed it even to CeeDee Lamb. Michael Gallup is a legit wide receiver, could be teams' wide receiver ones. Looking at several of teams' rosters, could easily be wide receiver ones on some of these teams. So Amari Cooper, again, it's a situation where are you going to pick on Jalen Ramsey or are you going to pick on the guy not named Jalen Ramsey? Like pretty simple addition by subtraction there. So fade for me is Amari Cooper.
Yeah. I don't have to pick on that. I'm a Cooper fan, being a Raiders fan and watching him. I mean, my fantasy teams have been named after Amari Cooper for the last, I don't know, couple years. So, but I don't hate you on that one. Both of us we follow the statistics and we like to use those statistics to better ourselves as fantasy players. So I'm with you. If I got Cooper, he's hitting my bench as well. if the situation is correct. Let me add that. If the situation is correct,
listen, there's gonna be a Amari Cooper game. This I don't think is one of them. I just don't think this is the Amari Cooper game. I think this is anyone but Amari Cooper game. So I think he's certainly a usable piece and draftable and all that kind of stuff, and will be seeing the starting lineup more often than he's not. But in this specific situation, if you want to get a little contrarian, I think Amari Cooper is a good fade.
Yeah, I guess I keep forgetting, and we're not very good at remembering that there may be new listeners out there listening to Picks and Bricks for the first time, and we kind of want to and should get across that if you have Amari Cooper and your other options are Rashard Perriman, Deshaun Jackson, and I don't even name someone else, Olabisi Johnson, start Cooper. All right, start Cooper. This isn't a ride or die. Hey, we're saying Cooper might not make it. If the situation fits your team, this is what we're saying. As a Cooper is a star player. Out of the rest of the star players that are projected top 12, this is going to be one that I am not going to touch, or Andrew's not going to touch. And that maybe we're not doing a very good job at explaining it to the new listeners. So hopefully, if you have any questions, by all means, reach out to us on Twitter, Andrew at Do or Die Nasty, and myself at Sideline Squib. You can always reach out to us on the website as well. Go to www.sidelinesquib.com. Click the podcast tab. You can ask us any questions you want. You can ask us to answer a question live on the show. We have all sort of things on there, so make sure you swing over and check that out. But Andrew, swinging into the tight ends here, I got a very interesting one in Hayden Hurst. I like Hayden Hurst, and it's weird because I don't like Hayden Hurst, but I like Hayden Hurst this week in week 1. They're going up against that Seattle defense where Bobby Wagner is getting older. He's getting older. He's probably going to have the assignment to try to cover him. Cover Hayden Hurst, who still is an athletic, primed, ready for his breakout. Atlanta went out and got him. They got rid of Austin Hooper, who was a very good player, and they went out and got him. So for me, I'm going to segue this into our sponsors here. But there's 7.5 targets a game that are vacated from Austin Hooper. Do you think over under from our Thrive Fantasy app and Prize Picks Fantasy Simplified, our two sponsors that deal with DFS and with over-unders prop bets? What do you think? Do you think he sees over 7.5 targets this week against Seattle?
Targets? I just can't believe they're gonna. I don't think the funnel can't be that wide open for him. Hayden Hurst. I'm about as low on Hayden Hurst as I am on Tyler Higbee, but I just can't imagine them not feasting with Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and then Todd Gurley out of the backfield as well. I just can't. The fourth, and Russell Gage is a dude too. He might be even the 5th option in that offense, which is a good problem to have if you're Atlanta, a bad problem to have if you're trying to figure out start Hayden Hurst or not. So for me, I don't think he's going to see nearly 8 targets. I think that's a little bit of a stretch.
Awesome. Let's hear what, if you guys don't know, you go over to Prize Picks, use code SQUIB, and they will give you 25% your first deposit match, plus a 2-pick entry to win $50. And as for Thrive Fantasy, if you guys don't know what they are yet, here's a little word from our sponsor, Thrive Fantasy app.
Hey guys, I wanted to take a second and talk about our sponsor, Thrive Fantasy, the up-and-coming fantasy sports app where you can take your prop bets into the DFS style. It's a pretty sweet little thing, so make sure you guys head over to thrivefantasy.com or check out their app. Use promo code SQUIB, that's SQUIB, when you sign up today, and you'll receive an instant $20 match on your first deposit of $20 or more. You can download the Thrive Fantasy app at the App Store or on the Play Store by visiting their website at www.thrivefantasy.com. Sign up to prop up today.
Yeah, dude, Thrive Fantasy is super legit if you're trying to blend your normal DFS with your over/under gambling prop bet type situation. It's a perfect blend of those two animals in regards to fantasy sports and sports in general. I also write an article for Prize Picks every week in regards to who I'm playing on that app. Prize Picks is super easy to play. You're not playing against. It's similar to Thrive Fantasy in regards to some over unders, but it's over under their fantasy score. So Prize Picks sets a score, a PPR score, essentially for for a select number of players, and then you decide if you want to pick the over or the under on that, and then based on how many selections you make, determines your payout. Very, very self-explanatory once you get in there, but I've created an entire webpage that kind of gives you a breakdown of how to play, as well as a video if you want to check our YouTube channel, as well as each week I am posting my specific plays that I'm playing and how much I'm wagering on each one. So if you want to check that out, it's at sidelinesquib.com as well. Take us home, Steve. What do we got at tight end? Who are you starting? Who are you sitting? Who's your picks and bricks?
So my pick is Hayden Hurst, as we just touched on that. I love that matchup there. But my brick, I am staying away from T.J. Hockenson. T.J. Hockenson had that big breakout week 1 against Arizona last year. So hopefully some people don't hang on to that, because the rest of the season was a little down. Yes, they lost Matt Stafford, and that could be a big thing when David Blau's thrown to you. But he's going to have a tough matchup. He's going to have a very tough matchup against the Chicago defense, who is just good overall. And they have that stud linebacker, Roquan Smith, who's going to be covering him. Very speedy, can get sideways, sideline to sideline speed. I love that there. His agility is great. Yes, Kenny Golladay has been ruled out. So there may be some more options and more targets may be available. But to me, how I think of things and how I'm looking at and looking to research is, now that Kenny G's out, that over-the-top help is not going to be on wherever side. So you could line up T.J. Hockenson on the left, Kenny G on the right. Well, guess what? That safety is going to the right 95% of the time. Now he's going to be playing straight up. There's not going to be that extra guy over the top. Everybody else in the box. I don't like T.J. Hockenson's matchup here against Chicago. Chicago has a good defense. They're coming out, and Chicago's defense is going to have to play well if Mitch Trubisky's under center, which it looks like he may be. So, I'm fading T.J. Hockenson this week in week 1.
I like it. I like it, and I don't like it because I think without Kenny Golladay, the targets are going to essentially go to Marvin Jones and Cephas, who I know you're pretty high on. Quentin Cephas, obviously, Matthew Stafford is a significant upgrade compared to what they were doing with the quarterback for most of the year last year. So I do have pretty good expectations of Detroit in general, both from a fantasy standpoint and from a win-loss total. But I think they're really committed to the run. I know that they have Kerryon Johnson and now DeAndre Swift. I know that there's a trusted target at Marvin Jones. And like you just touched on, the matchup isn't super great for T.J. Hockenson. I think to our point earlier, it's not necessarily if your other options are junk at tight end, do we say play the junk over T.J. Hockenson? But if we're just not projecting him to finish in the top 12, just the without him falling in the end zone, it's going to be a very tough. So what is this? Brent Burns. Andrew, serious question. Has anyone told you that you look like Brent Burns, the defenseman on San Jose? No, I get Travis Kelce a lot, considering that we're in Kansas City. So I get that a lot, which I don't hate. Pretty good looking dude. And I also get there was Eric Hosmer when he was here for the Royals. So that was those. I couldn't complain about either one of those comps. We're not big hockey here, so. But no, I'll have to look at who Brent Burns is for San Jose. Pardon my ignorance when it comes to hockey.
I'm with you. I don't have a clue there, but I will. But
I don't know. Hopefully he's a good looking dude. I hope people like what he looks like, because I try to at least be appealing to the masses here. For me, my pick I touched on earlier.
I usually get a fatter Seth Rogen. So.
Fatter Seth Rogen. I think it's the glasses, bro. Yeah. It's the glasses. And you're funny too. Like you got that just kind of like that giggle, like that. I shouldn't say giggle, but like that the wholeheartedness of the laugh. I think that's good. Sorry to distract. You're better looking. Sorry to distract both of you. Oh, thank you so much, man. Appreciate that. We do it for the people, man. We're here. We dress in our Sunday best every single episode, and we make sure that we look good for everyone. Where was I? Chris Herndon. Chris Herndon was where I was at. Chris Herndog, big fan of Chris Herndon, was really super heavily invested in him last year. Thought he was going to be thought he was going to serve his suspension and handle his business, but he ended up getting hurt in practice the week he came off of suspension. So it was for naught. I think that's a big difference this year. I think he's one of the better tight ends in regards to athleticism. We've touched on this in the Jets. Although we're not playing Sam Darnold based on all of the other quarterbacks that should be available for people to play. At tight end, though, I think Chris Herndon could easily finish the top 12 at his position. There's not a lot of pass catchers there, and if they are gonna move the ball and they are gonna score points, I think it has to be with their matchup with Chris Herndon. I think he's a mismatch in general. I know it's a tough matchup with Buffalo, and we understand the defensive matchup. But for me, someone's got to catch the football in New York. So for me, I think it'll be Chris Herndon. For my brick, I'll just go right into it. My brick at tight end, someone I would not be playing if I have him, is Gronkowski. Going up against New Orleans, who's a sneaky good defense, especially at the tight end position. They're number 8 versus the tight end in fantasy scoring last year. There's a ton of pass catchers. They're almost the exact opposite of the Jets in regards to who's going to be getting the ball. I mean, Chris Godwin, you have Mike Evans. There's even O.J. Howard at his own damn position. You've got Ronald Jones. You've got Leonard Fournette. Like, I just feel like I understand the connection between Brady and Gronk, but I think if you're expecting that to just happen from week in, week out, you're really asking for a lot, I think, in my opinion. So at the tight end position, a good fade for me, good brick, will be the old Gronkowski.
So I haven't seen as much movement this year as last year when it comes to this. But do you see Tampa Bay being last year's Cleveland, one of the best looking teams on paper, athlete wise, and then just not being able to put it together?
No, because they have Tom Brady. They have Tom Brady versus Baker Mayfield. I think that's a big difference in regards to like where they'll be from efficiency standpoint and how quickly they'll be able to pick it up. That's just the shortest answer I can come up with is no because of Tom Brady. But I mean, Gronk will be. I completely agree that Gronk will be a low volume tight end with touchdown upside. 100% agree. Which he can feast in that. I understand the historical relevance of Gronkowski. I just think that you're asking a year removed from football, a new system. I understand the same quarterback, but there's so many other options in Tampa Bay that it's just tough for me to bank on that. Hard to trust on a weekly basis for sure. Completely agree. But no, I don't think there's going to be that significant of a letdown as we saw with Cleveland and Tampa Bay. Like you touched on, they're even playing in a division that's conducive for us in fantasy football where there should be scoring points. So as long as the Super Bowl isn't the expectation.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. Well, guys, that pretty much does it for our first week of Picks and Bricks episode. Hopefully we gave you some good information, something you can run with, something you can dive into a little bit more yourselves. But yeah, I want to give a big shout out to our team. Our team has been working really hard behind the scenes. The rankings are out there. They're all updated. Our articles are coming through. We added a few more guys to the team and newest. You have Eric Potter. Eric Potter's putting out a couple. We teamed up with him. He's putting out some NFL and NCAA betting sports picks as well. Eric brings 70% hit rate to our team, and we made a commitment to try to strive for 80%. So that's huge when it comes to sports betting. So
he's one of the most successful bettors. He's one of the most successful handicappers on Twitter, and he's on with us at sidelinescope.com. Like that's as short and sweet as that is. Like you should follow his stuff, like for real. If you want to make money, I guess.
Yes. So again, swing over to the website. It's all on there. Everything is free, guys. You can see it today. Andrew and I decided we're wearing the same sweatshirt. It's a very
same damn sweatshirt.
If you guys like the sweatshirt, if you like the hats, we have shirts. We have anything you want. If you want it, last week it runs out tomorrow afternoon. I believe tomorrow afternoon. Use NFL 20 for 20% off if you guys are looking for anything. So. Like always, guys, I appreciate all the questions. I appreciate the comments. Come back, get this chat live next week too. We're in the football season, baby. We're back. So
yeah, LFG baby is right. Let's go. Hey, Steve, I think you're passing it to me. You're cutting out now, so it is what it is. But hey, super excited. Tomorrow is real live football, and we're gonna be drinking it up, loving it up. It's gonna be awesome. So try not to watch your fantasy football scores. That's one bit of advice I can say is just let it ride, set your lineup, see what happens, go back and check it later, man. So hey, I'm gonna take us out here. Make sure you wear a mask. Make sure you're nice to people. Be a good person, and go Chiefs.
Sideline Squib. It's a long time coming. Steve, Andrew, what say you? This is the sideline, huh? Funny, it's my time then. Put me in right now then. Squid, boy. This is the sideline, huh? Funny, it's my time then. Put me in right now then. Squid, boy. This is the Squib, info stick up to your ribs. Chips be coming with that dip. Go ahead, put it to your lips. My oh my, that is delish. Victory gon' taste like this. Y'all bought that big old boat, but these boys built you a bridge. Sit down and take notes. If you want you a trophy.